Welcome to the Matt Largent Concert.
Because if you're going to screw it up with style. You've got to serve and serve first, and then you have to make that conscious decision to leave.
Oh, if you have any problems, dial information. Thank you for calling.
Hey, welcome back to the Matt Largent Concert. It has been a very fun season. Last week, we had Amy Armstrong on here. We were talking about being able to deal with conflict resolution. She was sharing with us the voice of Blueprint. It was a really great show. If you didn't get a chance to listen, take a listen to it. And I'm going to be the first to tell you, I am still learning a lot when it comes to the video aspect of this. So when I uploaded into Spotify for the podcast itself, it uploaded just a lot of blank video with the audio. So hopefully you didn't try to watch it there. If you did, get on YouTube. That's where the actual video was, and you'll be able to see it there. But it was a really great show. We're going to have somebody coming in this week. It didn't work out. I'm on vacation. I'm on some time off right now over this week. Just had a new grandson or granddaughter that was born on Friday the 13th. So it was a little bit of a wild weekend. So needless to say, the show got pushed to today, which is Monday, and I am about to fly out first thing in the morning. But I will be back and get the show next week on Sunday, and hopefully we'll have a guest with us then. But over the last few episodes, we've really gotten into some deep and challenging topics. Season 5 has been probably one of my favorite seasons. If you haven't listened to all of the seasons, season 1, we went through what is a servant leadership. Season 2, we got into just some leadership traits, characteristics, issues, challenges, and it's about living leadership. It's not about some motivational speech. It's not about here's a cool little macronym, but I do like my Matt macronyms. Season 3 got kind of fluctuated a little bit because of some COVID stuff and all that all the good things. Season 4, we dove into ascend leadership and talked about how do we take servant leadership and move it into high performance. How do we get high performance out of our team by being a good servant leader? So if you're trying to look for, I need real ways to be super competitive. I need real ways to go out and do some great things and to be impactful. Then season 4 is the season for you. Season 5, we wanted to dive into the positives, the negatives, the challenges, the reasons why people don't get in leadership, the reasons why people do get in leadership, conflicts, challenges with getting that face-to-face, having real conversations, being transparent. I mean, we're getting into some meat this season, and so it's been a lot of fun. And what's great is that Amy had actually reached out to me to come on the show, and she wanted to share with everybody out there some of these great conflict resolutions. She is a professional coach, professional conflict resolution specialist, works with major organizations, public and private. I 100% recommend go check out our website, go check out our information. If you didn't get it, go back to last week. So we've gotten into aligning values, boundary setting, toxic work environments. But today I want to shift and I want to talk about something I'm really passionate about. Obviously, about being a servant leader and the positive aspects, the hope that being a servant leader brings, the inspiration, and inspiration is different than motivation. And I talk about this. We have professional motivational speakers, and a motivational speaker gets you fired up, right? And I tell everybody, I don't edit my video. I don't edit my audio. I just plug and play. I just rant for a while, and then I put it out there for the world to listen to, just screaming into the void. Because motivation, if I wanted motivation, I'd find little key tagline phrases and I'd put it together and scream it in there and have the, lions and images, and you would see, the little waves, and the ocean keeps flowing just like we will. It's motivational, but when you walk away from it, motivation's like a sugar rush. It starts dying down. It doesn't continue, it doesn't grow. And when you try to put some of those practices into play, they become challenges. They don't tell you, hey, look, when you do X, you're going to have to deal with all this stuff. They just say, do X. It's going to be amazing. No, there's a lot more to doing X than what they talk about. So, inspiration's about hearing something that you go, yes, that's it. And you go out there and you inspire to make change yourself. You're saying, hey, I'm not following some little boundary blueprint. Not a dig at a boundary blueprint, because the ideas are great, but you've got to incorporate it into you. You're never going to do things like I do. And I'm never going to do things like you do. The idea is that we take the principles of it and we're able to apply it to our leadership style, to our environment, to our impactful nature. And so that's what inspiration's about. It's about putting it out there to make impact. And so this episode's about how do we embrace servant leadership, how it doesn't just impact those around us, but it impacts us. This is a little bit of a selfish, because I want to talk about how it's going to transform you as a leader, as a business person, as a manager or owner, and most importantly, as a human being. Servant leadership can affect so much in everything that you do. So let's start with talking about the power of servant leadership on your personal growth, because let's face it, there's always got to be a with them. And if you ever done sales, you know what a with them is. A with them is, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this? And even in leadership, even in servant leadership, it's not about being sacrificial. It's about being selfless. And so while servant leadership, first and foremost, is about putting others' needs ahead of your own and fostering an environment that is collaborative and respectful, when we lift others, we need to lift ourselves. It's not just being about a better leader, it's about being a better person. And so even if you look at, so there's the Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership shows that leaders who focus on serving others are more fulfilled in their roles and experience less burnout. What does that mean? What that means is that when we see the impact that we have on others and we feel their loyalty, we feel their dedication to us, we feel their engagement into our organization, we feel their engagement into everything that we're doing, it's fulfilling and it brings more to the table. It's because it goes beyond that motivation. It goes into inspiration and it inspires them to make change. I have a great young man that works for me by the name of Carlos. And Carlos is just high energy, and he is such a servant leader. It's not about being, again, he's not sacrificial. He doesn't sacrifice himself. I will fall on the sword. I will lose everything so that you can gain it. No, no, no. It's about being selfless, meaning if there's two servings, but I'm really hungry, I'm not going to eat both because I see that you need to eat two. I'm going to eat one and you're going to eat the other. And I'm going to serve you first, but I'm still going to eat. And that inspires his team just because of his natural servant leadership aspects. It inspires them to go beyond their personal success. They want to see the team and the organization thrive. They want to see everybody succeed. They want to see, I'll never forget, he came in one day and he had a car accident, and his team was like, "Why are you even here? Like, go home." They were so worried about him as a human being that they made him go. His personal well-being was important to them. Why? Because he put their well-being important to him. And so it sounds oxymoronic. And servant leadership, honestly, is on it oxymoronic. We have to be humble enough to be confident. That's why we call it humble success. And I put together humble success, a whole training program that I call Humble Success. I put it together 6, 7 years ago now and have been teaching Humble Success, but it's about being good enough, being great, and knowing that, but being humble enough to not have to say it. It's about serving, but not sacrificing. It's about, I mean, there's so many oxymoronic things to it. The more I give, the more selflessly I work for my people and I'm helping them, the more they're bought into and they're engaged in our team and in our organization thriving, the more that they feel like they need to look out for others, including me, and it makes my life even better. And all of a sudden I have less tendency to have burnout. I have more opportunities for personal growth. In serving others, we find our truest self. The servant leader doesn't just build a team, they build people, and in turn they build themselves. And so we really need to take that opportunity to find our truest self. What do we really want to get out of it, and how do we want to get out of it? So the personal aspect, personal growth, I think that, and I've been doing actual leadership, whether it was in the infantry, whether it was in artillery, whether it was owning my own business, whether it was on assembly lines, construction, sales, in finance and banking. I've been in leadership for over 30 years now. And I will tell you that in the last 9 years or so that I have started to really work on being a good servant leader, I've had more personal growth, personal development than I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's, I won't say my entire life's been a long time. I'm just gonna say, me and Jefferson, we started thinking about servant leadership back in the day, and Abraham Lincoln and George Washington made fun of us. So I've been around for a minute, and I'm just gonna tell you, if you really want to find out what is true about yourself, and if you're not afraid to change, and I'm going to go on a side rant off my little scripting, off my ideas. I want to go on a side rant, and I do want to say, you have to develop yourself, because you can't teach others. You can't train. You can't grow other people if you aren't doing it yourself. And so, if I want to teach somebody, if I want to train and mentor them, if I want to be that selfless, good leader, and I want to be like, okay, here's how you go out there and you make your quota. Here's how you're going to be super successful and grow. But I've never done that myself, and I have no interest in doing it. And I'm just sitting in the office going, you know what? You guys need to go out there, and here's how you're going to be successful. Go do it. Then I'm not growing as it makes no sense. I have to know how to do it myself. And so it is extraordinarily important that a servant leader be green and growing. One of my favorite quotes is, you're either green and growing or you're ripe and dying. Because if you're green and growing, you're still on the vine and you're still being fed those nutrients, and you're not cutting yourself off from knowledge and experiences, and you're not cutting yourself off from change. Change is so hard because we don't want to change who we are for what we can become. We're too busy on thinking what we are, and, oh, I'm comfortable with what I am. Oh, I know what I am, and I don't want to do change. And so this has been okay. I'm making it. eh, but if I make this little change, I could be a lot more successful, or I could not. And that's terrifying. We focus in on the could not rather than I could. Rather than thinking, you know what, I'm going to make this change. I'm going to be a change agent, and I'm going to embrace that change and dive into it and focus in on it and do it fully and wholeheartedly. And if it doesn't work, then I'm going to adjust, and I'm going to continue to move through this terrain of change and growth and development, and not be afraid of it. Um, and I'm going to be honest with you, that's doggone near impossible. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. Bravery is understanding fear and doing it anyway. And for a leader, that is incredibly terrifying. I know how to be successful. I got here with it. But if I really want to be more successful, do I make this change? What will that change do? Will it make it worse? Will it make it better? And we keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. I mean, this is why people end up in bad relationships. This is why people end up in bad situations, is because they keep going in expecting a different result. It's easy to say the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. But it's harder to put that into practice and say, you know what? I'm not going to do the same things, especially when you have so many outside influences that want you to do the outside. And I'm on the rant right now, and I didn't even give you guys the warning by giving you guys the track music. So my apologies. The button's way over there, so you'll be okay. Um, it's hard to make changes. One of the things that people have always said in every organization, every place I've ever been, is that I am loud, I am aggressive, I'm a driver, I focus forward, and not like aggressive, like I'm going to punch you in the face, but like just the way I am. I'm very outgoing. I'm very boom, boom, boom. Let's get things done. I'm driven. I'm focused. I see things that need to happen and I go make them happen. I don't wait and debate and think. I go make it happen. And a lot of that comes from my military, but it's also come from success. And so I've had to learn how to make some changes. But the thing is that I've made these changes. I've learned and I've grown and I've adapted, especially over the last 10 years. But the number one thing is that everybody expects from me, and that I hear from everyone that has worked with me for any length of time, is that, oh yeah, he's super loud. He's super aggressive. He works so fast. He hits decisions, just goes. He doesn't take his time. And I've changed, and I'm not afraid of change, and I'm changing, and I continue to change. But it's like, and I know if you're listening, you experience this. You're the same as me, because people expect you to be like you were. They don't expect you to change your stripes. They expect you to keep doing the things that you were doing. If you made mistakes in your life, which we all have, we're all human beings. There was only one perfect person in the world, and he's gone up to heaven to wait for us, and he'll come back later. But the rest of us, we screw up. And the thing is that if we make bad enough mistakes, then people just expect it out of us. And it's so hard. And you just want to, you're like, I'm trying to change, but everybody just keeps expecting it from me. Like if you tell somebody an untruth, which is otherwise known as a lie, if you tell somebody that and enough times, then they just brand you a liar. And when you say, you know what, I want to make change, I want to be real, I want to be a person of integrity, I hate who I am, I hate who I see in the mirror. um, and this was, when I was owning my own business, there were so many times I didn't like who I was. I was a consulting agency. I'd go in and I'd have to let people go because it wasn't good for the organization. And so, regardless of if they were a good person, I wasn't trying to be a leader. I was trying to, save money and get people who were just going to do their job, and cut people who were, trying to make a living. And I hated it. And so I wanted to make a change. And the only way I could really make a change was cutting everything off and starting anew. And that's why I think people get so excited about the idea of starting new, is because they're like, nobody in my past has given me the chance to change. And that's hard. And so when we want to make changes, we don't want to be the same old, same old. And yet sometimes it's our circumstances around us that keep trying to force us back into that. Don't let them force you back into where you were. Don't let them force you into being what you were. You decided to make a change. Make that change. Be who you need to be successful. Be who you need to inspire others. Be who you need to be to inspire yourself. Don't let, just because somebody thinks, well, this is how you were, he's going to do this or she's going to do that, and that's just how they always are. Once a liar, always a liar. And they don't have any moral fortitude, or they're just a flake. They never follow through on anything. If any of these are hitting home, you know what? Screw them. You be you. If you want to make that change, and don't let the naysayers and the people say that you're going to be like that take you down. And you shouldn't have to start over to change yourself. Change yourself. If they don't want to believe it, that's their loss, not yours. It's not your loss. You don't have to go back or to go, you know what? They expect it from me. It's easier. I'm just going to do that. Stop. Make the change. Don't be afraid. Be a change agent. When people ask me, I have people that talk to me all the time, and they're like, what do you do? And first thing I say is, I'm a change agent. Like, I'm down for change. Let's change things. Let's do something. It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. But sometimes we got to embrace the suck, right? Sometimes we've got to go in there and go, you know what? Change is necessary, and it may not work and it may suck, but I'm going to go in there and go after it. And then I'm going to adapt, and I'm going to keep changing until we find the best success for everybody. And I'm going to inspire others, and I'm going to keep changing myself to be the best me that I can. And those people that were like, well, 10 years ago, you were, that's fine. You can live 10 years ago. That's you. I can't change you, but I can change me, and I'm going to change me. So be willing to be that change agent first. That's what you have to do to be a good, strong servant leader. When you talk about servant leadership and how it impacts your business, well, I mean, that's super easy. I mean, you look at their studies out there. Harvard Business Review, I think I've told you guys before, actually did a study on servant leaders, and they found that companies led by servant leaders see greater employee engagement. Employee engagement is when your employees are emotionally invested in your organization's goals and their targets. And so they want to see the organization succeed. Why? Because they're engaged to the organization, not to you, to the organization. They see servant leaders have a higher level of creativity in their team. Why? Because they're enhancing collaboration and mutual respect, and then they have a sustainable long-term success. That's the key right there. That's the secret that most people, oh, look, man, I don't need to be a servant leader. I've done very, very well. Uh, what you've done is the sales roller coaster. And I guarantee you, I'm going to hurt feelings right here, because what happens is that you go out there and you're like, you know what? I'm going to hit it hard. And you hit it hard, not as a servant leader, just as a manager, and you're hitting it hard, and you see a success, and then all of a sudden you see no success, and then you see some success, and then no success. And it's almost like drugs. You know, the first high gets really good. And I don't know that personally. Maybe that's a bad example. Don't do drugs. But the first time it impacts you hard, the second time a little bit less, and all of a sudden you're stagnant. That's not good leadership. Servant leadership has been backed by studies that it creates cultures of trust, collaboration, and respect. It is backed by studies and data. 60% less turnover rate in organizations that are led by servant leaders. Now, you may not be the owner or the president or the CEO, but that doesn't mean that your personality, your attitude, your leadership style does not affect your people, because you may have one section, one department, one area, one whole division. But if you are leading it as a servant leader, you are going to see these impacts in yours. Servant leadership isn't about that sugar high. It's not about motivation. It's not about boosting morale. It's about boosting the bottom line too. It creates companies where employees want to stay, innovate, and grow. And most of all, I think servant leadership transforms us as a human being, because when we focus on serving others, we become more empathetic, more self-aware, more resilient. We become more communicative. And if you've listened to any of my seasons, then you know the key things that I talk about is: one, communication; two, communication; three, empathy, not sympathy. Empathy means that I understand, but I'm not changing my standards. Sympathy means we start adjusting our standards for somebody's situations. Empathy means that I understand and I hear you, and I'm going to keep that in mind. Resilience is about being able to flow through. Hey, we're having this downturn, but this is what we're going to do. And it affects us. It transforms our personal relationships. It transforms our sense of purpose. It creates something wholly different in us. Your sense of purpose becomes something unique. And it's not just in the workplace, but it's at home because servant leadership is good everywhere. As a father, as a mother, as an uncle, as a brother, as a son, as a daughter, as a manager, as an owner, servant leadership impacts everywhere. Even my alma mater, okay, one of my alma maters. I recently finished some programs with the University of Wisconsin. They did a study that found that servant leaders experience greater levels of emotional intelligence and are more likely to exhibit long-term empathy and compassion in their interactions with others. This makes them not only better leaders, but better spouses, friends, and community members. You see, to lead is to serve, and to serve is to grow. As you uplift others, you uplift yourself in ways that you'll never expect. It will surprise you. I mean, I can just tell you on the journey that I've been in the last 8, 9, 10 years has been one of the most rewarding journeys as a leader and as a human being that I ever have had. It is incredible when you start serving and growing because all I wanted to do was serve my people. And by serving them, all of a sudden I started growing. And as I was lifting them up, it required me to lift myself because I can't lift others when I'm knee deep in the mud. I'm just going to sink further. I had to be on solid foundation and I have to lift others. And by lifting them, all of a sudden I see the skies and I was able to lift up and see beyond the horizon and so many cool things. And no, I'm not drinking some crazy Kool-Aid. I'm telling you the impact is real. To lead is to serve and to serve is to grow. So why now? Why now? Matt, I have been a great leader for so long. Matt, I am an executive. Matt, I am the CEO of this organization. Why now? Why do I need to change now? Because this world has so much uncertainty. There's workplace stress and burnout. That's always going to be there. The pandemic showed us how much we can rely on each other. We've got political unrest, we've got economic unrest, and that's always going to come and go. And there's no telling what's going to happen. As we continue to see this uncertainty and we continue to be more aware of the world and all the uncertainty that is in that world, we find that this leadership style, that the servant leader truly stands out because it's based on service, compassion, and community. Because then we know we can rely on one another. And servant leaders have the unique ability to foster resilience both in their teams and in themselves. And because it's about sustainable success. It's not about the what I call the sales roller coaster. Did great. Oh, did awesome. Grr. Did good. Oh. It's about sustainable success. As leaders, we're not looking for short-term wins. We're looking to leave legacy. Servant leaders don't just leave behind successful businesses. Servant leaders leave behind empowered teams, stronger communities, because the best leaders don't set out to be leaders. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, it's about the goal. Servant leadership isn't easy. It's the most rewarding form of leadership. By putting others first, you not only inspire and elevate your team, but you grow into the best version of yourself. The benefits are immense. You have stronger organizations, more resilient relationships, and a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond just your workplace. Remember, it's not just about making impact for others. It's about making impact on personal growth and serving others. We find our truest selves. It's not just about building team, but it's about building people. And in turn, that builds ourselves. It impacts our business because servant leaders aren't just about boosting morale. It's about boosting the bottom line. It's about creating companies where employees want to stay, innovate, and grow. And it's not about just about the business and it's not just about personal. It's about our humanity because to lead is to serve and to serve is to grow. And as we uplift those others, we will uplift ourselves in a way that we never expect. The best leaders don't set out to be leaders. It's not about the role, it's about the goal. set out to make a difference. Next week, I'm going to dive deeper into how servant leaders build trust and collaboration. I'm going to bring in a guest, hopefully. We'll share some incredible stories about leaders who made impact by putting their teams first. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Let's continue to live and lead with purpose. Thanks for joining me on the Matt Largent Concert, where we're not just talking about leadership, we're living it.
And like that,